In this video, I will talk about Stephen Hawking and I will discuss his early life, career, personality, that and all about his achievements. Let's will talk about the Stephen Hawking. He born in 8 January 1942 and died in 14 March 2018. He was an English theoretical physicist, cosmologist and author who was director on research at the Center for Theoretical Cosmology at the University of Cambridge. Between 1979 and 2009, he was the professor of mathematics and Cambridge, widely viewed as one of the most prestigious academic posts in the world. Hawking was born in Oxford in a family of physicians in October 1959. At the age of 17, he began his university education at University College, Oxford, where he received a first class BA degree in physics. In October 1962, he began his graduate work at Trinity Hall, Cambridge, where in March 1966 he obtained his PhD degree in applied mathematics and theoretical physics, specializing in general relativity and cosmology. In 1963, at age 21, Hawking was diagnosed with an early onset slow progressing form of mental neurone diseases that gradually over decades paralyzed him. After the loss of his speech, he communicated through a speech generating device, initially through use a handheld switch and eventually by using a signal check muscles. Hawking's scientific work include a collaboration with Roger and gravitational signality theorem in the framework of general relativity and the theoretical prediction that black hole emit radiation, other called Hawking radiation. Initially, Hawking radiation was controversial by the late 1970s, and following the publication of further research, the discovery was widely accepted as a major breakthrough in a theoretical physics. Hawking was the first set out a theory of cosmology explained by a union of the general theory or relativity and quantum mechanism. He was a vigorous supporter of the many world interpretation of quantum mechanism. Hawking achieved commercial success with several works of popular science in which he discussed his theories and cosmology in journal. His book A Brief History of Time appeared on the Sunday Times bestseller list for record ranking 237 weeks. Hawking was a fellow on the Royal Society, a lifetime member of the Pontifical Academy of Science and the recipient of the President's Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian award in the United States in 2002. Hawking was ranked number 25 in the BBC pool of the 100 greatest Britons. He died in 2018 at the age of 76, having lived more than 50 years following his diagnosis of motor neurons disease. Let's talk about Hawking early life and his family. Hawking was born on 8 January 1942, which I had mentioned before, in Oxford to Frank and Isabel Eileen Hawking, nee Walker. Hawking's mother was born into a family of doctors in Scotland. His wealthy paternal great grandfather from Yorkshire overextended himself buying farm land and then went bankrupt in the greatest agricultural depression. During the early 20th century, his paternal great grandfather saved the family from financial ruin by opening a school in their home. Despite their family financial constraints, both parents attended the University of Oxford, where Frank read medicine and Isobel read philosophy, politics, and economics. Isobel worked as a secretary for a medical research institute and Frank was a medical researcher. Hawking had two younger sisters, Philippa and Mary, and adopted brother Edward Frank Davis, 1955 to 2003. In 1950, when Hawking's father became head of the division of parasitology at the National Institute of Medical Research, the family moved to Albans, Hertfordshire. In St. Albans, the family was considered highly intelligent and somewhat eccentric. Metal were often spent with each person. Meals were spent with each person, silently reading a book. They lived a frugal extension in a large, cluttered and poorly maintained house and traveled in a converted London taxicab. During one of Hawking's father's frequently absence working in Africa, the rest of the family spent 4 months in Molasca, visiting the mother friends Barry and her husband, the poet Robert Grave. Here we talk about the primary and secondary school year. This is the schooling where Hawking studies. Hawking began his college at the Baron House School in Highgate, London. He later blamed its progressive method for his failure to learn to read while at school. In St. Albans, the 8-year-old Hawking attended St. Albans High School for Girls for a new month. At the time, younger boys could attend one of the houses. Hawking attended two private, that is free-paying school, first Radlett School and from September 1952 St. Albans School, Hertfordshire. After the passing the 11 plus a yearly, the family placed a high value of education. Hawking's father wanted his son a often Westminster school, but the 13-year-old Hawking was ill on the day of the scholarship examination. His family could not afford the school fee without the financial aid, a scholarship, so Hawking remained at St. Alban. A positive consequence was that Hawking remained close to group of family with whom he enjoyed broad games, the manufacture of firework, model aeroplanes and boats, and long discussion about Christianity and extrasensory perceptions. From 1958 on, with the help of the mathematics teachers Darkan Tahata, they built a computer from clock part, an old telephone switchboard, and other recycle companies. Although known at school as Einstein, Hawking was not initially successful academically. With time, he began to show considerable aptitude for scientific subjects and, inspired by Tehata, decided to read mathematics at university. Hawking's father advised him to study medicine, concerned that there were few jobs for mathematics graduates. He also wanted his son to attend University College Oxford, his own alma mater, as it was not possible to read mathematics there at the time. Hawking decided to study physics and chemistry. Despite his headmaster advice to wait until the next year, Hawking was awarded a scholarship after taking the examination in March 1959. Let's talk about Hawking undergraduate year. Hawking began his university education at University College Oxford in October 1959 at the age of 17. From the first 18 months, he was bored and lonely. He found the academic work ridiculously easy. His physics tutor, Robert Burman, later said it was only the necessary for him to know that something could be done and he could done it without looking to see how other people did it. A change occurred during the second and third year when, according to the Burman, Hawking made more and efforts to be one of the boys. He developed into a popular, lively, and witty college member interested in a classical music and science fiction. Part of the transformation resulted from his decision to join the college boat club, the University College Boat Club, where he coached of rowing crew. The rowing coach at the time noted that Hawking cultivated a derivile image, steering his crew or risky courses that lead to damaged boat. Hawking estimated that he studies about 1000 hours during his 3 years at Oxford. These factual knowledge impressively study habit made sitting his final a challenges, and he decided to answer only theoretical physics questions rather than the requiring factual knowledge. A first class degree was a condition of acceptance for his planned graduation study in cosmology at the University of Cambridge. Anxious, he slept poorly the night before the examination, and result was one of the borderline between first and second class honor, making a viva oral examination with the Oxford examination necessary. Hawking was concerned that he was viewed as a lazy and difficult student. So, when asked at the Viva to describe his plans, he said, "If you aware me a first, I will go to Cambridge. If I receive a second, I shall stay in Oxford, so I expect you will give me a first." He was held in higher regard than he believed, as Burman committed the examiner were intelligent enough to realize they were talking to someone for clever than most of themselves. After receiving a first class BA degree in a physics and completing a trip to Iran and a friend, he began his graduate work at Trinity Hall, Cambridge in October 1962. Let's talk about Hawking post graduation years. Hawking is a first year as a doctoral student was difficult. He was initially disappointed to find that he had been assigned Dunning William Schema, one of the founders of modern cosmology, as a supervisor rather than the noted cos- astronomer Fred Hoyle, and he found his training in mathematics inadequate for work in general activity and cosmology. After being diagnosed with mother neurone diseases, Hawking fell into a depression, though his doctor advised that he continue with his studies. He felt there was little point. He disease progressed more slowly than doctor had predicted, although Hawking had difficulty walking unsupported and his speech was almost unintelligible. An initial diagnosis that he had only 2 years to live proved unfounded. With Schema's encouragement, he returned to his work. Hawkins started developing a reputation for brilliance and brashness when he publicly challenges the work of Hoyle and his students Janet's at a lecture in June 1964. When Hawking began his doctoral studies, there was much debate in the physics community about the prevailing theories of the creation of universe. The Big Bang and steady state theories inspired by Roger theorem of spectrum. Singularly, in the center of black hole, Hawking applied the same thinking to the entire universe, and during 1965 he wrote his thesis on the topic. Hawking's thesis was approved in 1966. There were one positive development. Hawking received a research fellowship at Galway and Cashew College at Cambridge. He obtained his PhD degree in applied mathematics and theoretical physics, specializing in general relativity and cosmology in March 1966. And his easy singularity and the geometry of space time spared top honors with one by Penrose to win that year prestigious Adam Prize. Let's talk about his career, which is begun 1966 to 1975. In his work and in collaboration with Penrose, Hawking extended the singularity theorem concept first explored in his doctoral thesis in including not only the existence of singularities but also theory that universe might have started as a singularity. Their joint essay was the runner-up in 1966 Gravity Research Foundation competition. In 1970, they published a proof that if the universe obeyed the general theory of relativity and first any of the model of physics cosmology developed by Alexander Friedman, then it must have begun as a singularity. In 1969, Hawking accepted a specially created fellowship for destruction in science to remain at Caius. In 1970, Hawking postgraduated that became known as the second law of black hole dynamics, that the event horizon of a black hole can never get smaller. With James M. Bardeen and Bardeen Carter, he proposed the four law of black hole mechanism, drawing an analogy with thermodynamic. The Hawking irritation Jacob, a graduate student of John, went further and ultimately correctly to apply thermo, uh, thermodynamic concept literally. In the early 1970s, Hawking worked with Carter, Israel, and Davis strongly supported Weir's no-hair theorem, one that states that no matter what the original material from which a black hole is created, it can be completely described by the properties of mass, electrical change, and rotation. His essay Little Black Hole won the Gravity Research Foundation Award in January 1971. Hawking first book The Large-Scale Structure of Space-Time, written with George Ellis, was published in 1973. Beginning in 1973, Hawking moved into the study of quantum gravity and quantum mechanism. His work in the area was supported by a visit to Moscow and discussion with Yakov and Alexei, whose work shows that according to the uncertainty principle, rotation black hole emit practicals. The Hawking annoyance his much checked calculation produced finding that contradicted his second law, which claimed black hole could never get smaller, and supported Black-Centim, a reasoning about their entropy. His result, which Hawking presented from 1974, showed that black holes emit radiation known today as Hawking radiation, which may continue until they exhaust their energy and evaporate. Initially, Hawking ra- radiation was controversial by the late 1970s, and following the publication of further research, the discovery was widely accepted as a significant breakthrough in a theoretical physics. Hawking was selected a Fellow of the Royal Society a few weeks after the announcement of Hawking radiation. At the time, he was one of the youngest scientists to become a Fellow. Hawking was appointed to the Sherman Fairchild visiting professorship at the California Institute of Technology in 1974. He worked with a friend and the faculty, Kip Thorne, and engaged him in a scientific wager about whether the X-ray sources was a black hole. The wager was an insurance policy against the proposition the black hole did not exist. Hawking acknowledged that he had lost the bet in 1990, a bet that was the first of several he was to make the theorem and others. Hawking had maintained ties a Catalyst, spending a month there almost every year since this first visit in 1975 to 1990. Hawking returned to Cambridge in 1975 to more academically senior post as a reader in gravitational physics. The mid to late 1970s were a period of growing public interest in a black hole and the physicists who were studying them. Hawking was regularly interviewed from print and television. He also received increasingly academic recognition of his work. In 1975, he was awarded both the Eddington Medal and the Pius Xi Gold Medal, and in 1976, the Dania Hemina Prize, the Maxwell Maiden Prize, and the Hughes Medal. He was appointed a professor with a chair in gravitational physics in 1977. The following year, he received the Albert Einstein Medal at the honorary doctorate from the University of Oxford. In 1979, Hawking was elected Lucasian Professor of Mathematics at the University of Cambridge. His inaugural lecture in the role was titled "Is the End is Sighing for Theoretical Physics" and proposed any supergravity at the leading theory to solve many of the outstanding problems physicists were studying. His promotion coincided with a health crisis which led to be accepting, albeit reluctantly, redu, reluctantly, some nursing service at home. At the same time, he was also making the transaction in his approach to physics become more intuitive and speculative rather than inciting and mathematical proof. I would rather he bring that rigorously, he told Kip Thorne. In 1981, he proposed that information in a black hole is irretrievably lost when the black hole evaporates. The information paradox violates the fundamental tenets of quantum mechanism and the lead 2 years of debate, including the Black Hole War, Leonardo Susskind, and Great Hoop. Let's talk about the cosmological inflation. A theory proposing the following: the Big Bang, the universe initially explained rapidly before settling down to solar expansion, was proposed by Alan Guth, as also developed by Adrian Lindy. Following a conferences in Moscow in October 1981, Hawking as Gray Gibbons organized a 3-week unified workshop in the summer of 1982, the very early universe at Cambridge University, a workshop that focused mainly on infantation theory. Hawking also began a new line of quantum theory research into the origin of the universe. In 1981, at the Vatican Conference, he presented work suggested that there might be no boundary or beginning or ending to the universe. Hawking subsequently developed the research in collaboration with Jim Hartice, and in 1983 they published a model known as the Hartiles Hawking state. It proposed that prior to the Planck approach, the universe had no boundaries in space time. Before the Big Bang, time did not exist, and the concept of the beginning of universe is meaningless. The initially singularity of the classical Big Bang model was replaced with a reason aching the North Pole. One cannot travel north or of the North Pole, but there is no boundaries there. In a simply the point where all north running lies meet and end. Initially, the no boundaries proposed predicted a closed universe which had implication about the existence of God. As Hawking explained, if the universe had no boundaries but itself contained, the God would not have had any freedom to choose how the universe began. Hawking did not rule out the existence a creator asking in a brief history of time. Is the unified theory so compelling that is bring about its own existence? Also stating it will it we discover a complete theory, it would be the ultimately trumped of human reason, for then he would knows the mind of the God. In his early work, Hawking spoke a God in a metaphorical senses. In the same book, he suggested that the existence of God was not necessary to explain the origin of universe. Later discussion with Neil Turok lead to realization that existence of God was also compatible with an open universe. Further work by Hawking in the area of arrows of time led to the 1985 publication of a paper theorizing that it the no boundaries proposing were correct then when the universe stopped explaining and eventually collapsed, time would run backward. A paper by Dunn, Page and interdependent calculations by Raymond lead Hawking to withdraw this concept. Honors continue to be awarded. In 1981, he was awarded the American Franklin Medal, and in 1982, New York honor appointed a commander of the Order of British Empire. CBE. These awards did not significantly change Hawking's financial status, and motivated by the need to finance his children's education and some expenses, he decided in 1982 to write a popular book about the universe that would be accessible to the general public. Instead of publishing with an academic press, he signed a contract with Bantam Books, a mass market publisher, and received a large advance for his book. A first draft of his book called A Brief History of Time was completed in 1984. One of the first message Hawking produced with his speech journal device was a request for his assistant to help him finish writing A Brief History of Time. Peter Gujardi, his editor, a Bantaman, pushed him to explain his ideas clearly in non-technical language, a process that required many revisions from an increasingly irritated Hawking. The book was published in April 1988 in the US and June in the UK, and it's proved to be an extraordinary success, rising quickly to the top of the bestseller list in both countries and remaining 3-4 months. The book was translated into many languages and as of 2009 has sold an estimated 9 million copies. Media attention was intense, and Newsweek magazine cover and the television special board describe him as a master of universe. Success lead to significant financial rewards but also the challenges of celebrity status. Hawking traveled extensively to promote his work and enjoy the part, uh, partying and dancing into a small house. A difficulty rising the innovation inventions and visitors left him limited time for work and his students. Some colleges were full of the attention of Hawking received, feeling it was due to the disability. He received further academic recognition, including five more honorary degree, the gold medal of Royal Astronomical Society 1985, the Powell Direct Media 1987, and jointly with Penrose, the prestigious Wolf Prize 1988. In the 1989 birthday honor, he was appointed a member of the Order of the Companion of Honor (CH). He reportedly declined of kinghood in the late 90s in objective to the UK science and funding policy. 1992 2000. Hawking, pres- uh, Hawking pursued his work in physics in 1993. He co edited a book of Illudina Quantum Gravity with Gray Gibbons and published a collection edition of his own articles on black hole and the Big Bang. In 1994, at Cambridge Newton Institute, Hawking and Parison delivered a series of 6 lectures that were published in 1996 as The Natural of Space and Time. In 1997, he consented a 1991 public scientific wager made him keep throne and John of Carthage. Hawking had backed that Penrose's proposal of a cosmic consor- consortium conjecture that there could be no nagged singularities uncoated with a horizon was correct. After discovering his concession might have been premature, a new and more refined wager was made. This one specified that such singularities would occur without extra condition. The same year, Thorin Hawking and Presking made another bet, this time concerning the black hole information paradox. Thorne and Hawking argued that since general relatively made it impossible to black hole to radiate and lose information, the mass, energy, and information carried by Hawking radiation must be new and not from inside the black hole, even horizon. Since the contradicted the quantum mechanism of micro causality, quantum mechanism theory would need to be a rewritten. Pascal argued the opposite. The since quantum mechanics suggests that the information emitted by the black hole related to information that fall in an earlier time. The concept of the black hole given by general relative must be modified in some way. Hawking also maintained this public profile included bringing science to a wider audience, a film version of A Brief History of Time directed by Errol Morris and produced by Stephen Meisner in 1992. Hawking had wanted to film to be a scientific rather than biographic, but he was persuaded otherwise. The film, while a critical success, was not widely released. A popular level collection of essay, interview, and talk titled "Black Hole and Baby Universe of Other Essay" was published in 1993, and a six-part of television series Stephen Hawking Universe and a companion book appeared in 1997 as Hawking instead. This time to focus was entirely on science. 2000 to 2018. 2018 when Hawking died, and 2018 last time when Hawking did his work. Hawking continued his writing for a popular audience, publishing the universe in a nutshell in 2001 and A Briefer History of Time, which he wrote in 2005. The Leonard Mal- Moldino to update his earlier work with the aim of making the accessible to wider audience, and Gold Created of Intelligence, which appeared in 2006, along with Thomas Hatters at Central and Jim Harton from 2006 on Hawking developed a theory of top-down cosmology, which says that the universe had not one unique initial state but many different ones. One and therefore that is it is inappropriate to formulate a theory that predicts that in universe current configuration from one particular initial state. Top-down cosmology posited that the present select the past from the superposition of many possible historians. In doing so, the theory suggests a possible resolution of the fine-tuning questions. Hawking continued to travel widely, including trips to Chile, Easter Island, South Africa, Spain, to receive the Forsyth Prize in 2008, Canada, and Neuron's trip to the United States. The particle's reasons related to his disability, Hawking increasingly traveled by private jet, and by 2011 that had become his only mode of international travel. By 2003, consensus among physicists was growing that Hawking was wrong about the loss of information in a black hole. In 2004 lecture in Durban, he conceded his 1997 bet with Pascal, but described his own somewhat controversial solution to the information paradox problem, involving the possibility that black holes have more than one topology. In the 2005 paper he published on the subject, he argued that the information paradox was explained by examining all the alternative histories of universe with the information loss in those with black holes being cancelled out those without such loss. In January 2014, he called the alleged loss of information black hole his biggest blunder. As a part of another long standing scientific dispute, Hawking had empirically argued and bet that the Higgs boson would never be found. The practical was proposed to exist as a part of Higgs field theory by Peter Higgs in 1964. Hawking and Higgs engaged in heated and public debates over the matter in 2002 and against in 2008, with Higgs criticizing Hawking work and complaining that Hawking's celebrity status given him intense credibility that others do not have. The practicals was discovered in July 2012 in CERN following the constitution of the Large Hadron Collider. Hawking quickly conceded that he had lost his bet and said that Higgs should win the Nobel Prize in Physics, which he died in 2013. In 2007, Hawking and his daughter Lucy published George's Secret Key by the Universe, a children's book designed to explain theoretical physics in accessible fashion and featuring characters similar to those in the Hawking family. The book was following the sequence in 2009, 2011, 2014, and 2016. In 2002, following a UK wide vote, the BBC included Hawking in their list of the 100 greatest Britons. He was awarded the Copley Medal from the Royal Society to 2006, the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which is the American highest civil Civilian Honor 2009 and the Russian Special Fundamental Physics Prize 2013. Several buildings have been named after him, including the Stephen W. Hawking Science Museum in San Salvador, Salvador, the Stephen Hawking Building in Cambridge, and the Stephen Hawking Center at the Prime Minister Institution in Canada, approximately. Given Hawking association with time, the uni- unre- un- unveiled the mechanical chronophage at the time meeting Corpus Christi College, Cambridge in September 2008. During his career, Hawking supervised 39 successful PhD students. One doctoral student did not successfully Professor of Mathematics in 2009, despite suggested the might have been United Kingdom as a protest against public funding cut a basic scientific research. Hawking worked as Director of Research at the Cambridge University Department of Applied Mathematics and Theoretical Physics on 28 June 2009. As a tongue is checked, test of his 1992 conjecture that travel into the past is effectively impossible. Hawking held a party open to all, complete with odds and iced campaign, but publicized the party only after it was over so that only three travelers would know to attend, as the expected notably shows up to the party. On 20 July 2015, Hawking helped launch Breakthrough Initiative, an effort to search for extraterrestrial life. Hawking created Stephen Hawking Expeditions New Earth, a documentary on space colonization, as 2017 episode of Tomorrow World. In August 2015, Hawking said that not all information is lost when something enters a black hole, and there might be a possibility to retrieve information from black hole according to his theory. In July 2017, Hawking was awarded an honorary doctorate from Imperial College of London. Hawking final paper, a smooth exit from external inflation, was posthumously published in Journal of High Energy Physics on 27 April 2008. We will discuss about Hawking personal life and his marriage. Hawking met his future wife Jane Wilde a party in 1962. The following year, Hawking was diagnosed with motor neuron diseases. In October 1964, the couple became engaged to marry, aware of the potential challenges that lay ahead due to the Hawking shorthand life expectancy and physical limitation. Hawking later said that his engagement gave him something to live for. Then two were married on 14 July 1965 in their shared hometown of St. Albans. The couple reside in Cambridge, with Hawking walking distance to the Department Applied Mathematics and Theoretical Physics. During their first year of marriage, Jane lived in London during the week as she completed her degree at Westfield College. They traveled to the United States several times for conferences and physics related visits. Jan began a PhD program through the Westfield College in medieval Spanish poetry. Completed in 1981, the couple had three children: Robert, born May 1967, Lucy, born November 1970, and Timothy, born April 1979. Hawking rarely discussed his illness and physical challenges, even in a precedent set during their courtship. With Jan, his disability meant that the responsibilities of home and family rested family on his wife, increasingly overwhelmed. Should leaving him more time to think about physics. Upon his appointment in 1974 to year-long position of the California Institute of Technology in Pasadena, California, Jen proposed that a graduate or postdoctoral student live with them and help with his career. Hawking accepted and Vandal Card traveled with them as the first of May student who fulfilled his role. The family spent of journal happy of stimulating year of Pasadena. Hawking returned to Cambridge in 1975 to a new home and new job as a reader turned page. With whom Hawking had begun a close friendship at Clatts, arrived to work as the live-in graduate student assistant with Page, held and that the secretary Jen responsibilities were reduced. She could return to her doctorate thesis and her new interest in singing. Around December 1977, Jen met organizer Jonathan Hellier Jones when singing in a church hall. Helly Jones became close to the Hawking family, and by the mid 1980s, he had Jen and developed romantic he and Jen developed romantic feeling for each other. According to Jan, her husband was accepting of the situation, starting he would not object. So long as I continued to love him, Jan and Hellier John were determined not to break up the family, and their relationship remained platonic to a long period. By the 1918s, Hawking marriage had been strained from many years. Jen felt overwhelmed by the intrusions into their family life of the required nurses and assistants. The impact of his celebrity status was challenging for college and family members, while the prospect of living up to the worldwide fair fairy tale image was daunting for a couple. Hawking views a religion also contrasted with her strong Christian faith and resulted in tension. After the Terrastromy in 1985, Hawking required a full-time nuisance and nursing care was split across three shifts daily in late 1980s. Hawking grew close to one of his nurses, Eliana Mansos, to the demise of some college caregiver and family members who were disturbed by her stranger of personality and protectiveness. In February 1990, Hawking told Jen that he was leaving her for Mason and departed the family home. After his divorce from Jen in 1995, Hawking married Manson in September, declaring, "It wonderful. I have married the worm I love." In 1999, Jan Hawking published a memorial, Music of Move the State, describing her marriage to Hawking and its breakdown. Its revelations caused a sensation in the media, but as was his usual practice regarding his personal life, Hawking made no public comment except to say that he did not read biographic about himself. After his second marriage, Hawking family felt executed and marginalized from his life. For a period of 5 years in the early 2000s, his family and staff became increasingly worried that he was being physically abused. Police investigation took place but were closed off. Hawking refused to make a complaint. In 2006, Hawking as Mason quietly divorced, and Hawking resumed closer relationship with Jan, his children, and his grandchildren. Reflecting on his happier period, a revised version of Jan's book, retitled Traveling of Infinite, My Life Was Stephen appeared in 2007 was met into the film The Theory of Everything in 2014. Let's talk about the disability. Hawking had a rare early onset show progressing from a motor neurons disease, MND, also known as amyotrophic lateral sclerosia, ALS, or a fatal neurodegenerative diseases that affect the motor nurs- neurons in the brain and spinal cord, with gradually paralyze him over decade. Hawking had experienced increasingly clump signs during his final year at Oxford, including a fall and some stairs and difficulties when rowing. The problems worsened and his speech became slightly slurred. His family noticed that changes when he returned home of Christmas and medical investigation were begun. The MND diagnosis came when Hawking was 21 in 1963. At the time, doctors gave him a life expectancy of 2 years. In the late 1960s, Hawking's physical ability declined. He began to use churches and could not longer give lectures regularly. As he slowly lost the ability to write, compassion, he developed compensatory visual method, including seeing the equation in terms of geometry. The physicist Werner Israel later compared the achievements of Mozart, composing an entire symphony in his head. Hawking was fiercely independent and unwilling to accept help to make concessions for his disability. He preferred to regard as scientist first, popular science writer second, and in all the way that matter. A normal human being with the same desire, drive, dream, and ambitions as the next person. His wife, Jen, later noted some people would call it determination, some obstinacy. I have called in born at one time of another. He required much persuasions to accept the use of wheelchair at the end of 1960s, but ultimately became notorious for the wildness of his wheelchair driving. Hawking was a popular and witty colleague, but his illness as well as his reputation to brushes distanced him from some. When Hawking first began using a wheelchair, he was using the standard motorized model. The earliest supervising example of this chair was made by the BEC Mobility and sold by Christian in November 2018 and two, 2,96,750. Hawking continued to use this type of chair until the late 1990s, at which time his ability to use his hand to drive a wheelchair deteriorated. Hawking was a verified of different chairs from the time, including a Dragon Mobility, Dragon Evaluating Power Chair from 2007, as shows in April 2008 photo of Hawking attending NASA 50's University of Paramobile C35 from 2014, and then a Paramobile F3 from 2016. Hawking's speech deteriorated, and by the late 1970s, he could be understood by only his family and closest friend to communicate with others. Someone who knows him well would interpret his speech into intangible speeches supered by a dispute with the university over who would pay for the ramp needed for him to enter his workplace. Hawking and his wife compared in improved access and support to those with disability in Cambridge, included accepted student housing at the university. In journal, Hawking had ambivalent feeling about his role as a disability right champion was wanting to help others. He also sought to detach himself from his illness and its challenges. His lack of engagement his area led to some criticism. Hawking's speeches deteriorated only the late 1970s. He could understood by only the family and closest friend. During a visit of CERN on the border of the France and Switzerland in mid 1985, Hawking contracted pneumonia with his condition was life threatening. He was so ill that Jen was asked if life supported should be terminated. He refused, but consequently was the tracheotomy, which required round the clock nursing care and casual the rose of what remained of his speeches. The National Health Service was ready to pay for nursing home, but Jen was determined that he would live at home. The cost of the care was funded by American Foundation. Nurses were hired for the three shifts required to provide the round the clock support the required on the those employed was Elimine Mansoon, who was the become Hawking's second wife. For his communication, Hawking initially raised his eyebrows to choose later on the but spelling card. But in 1986, he received a computer program called the Equalized from the Walter Wolstos, CEO of World Plus, who had developed an earlier version of the software to help his mother-in-law, who had also ALS and had lost her ability to speak and write. In a method to use for the rest of his life, Hawking could now simply press a switch to select phrases, word, a letter from a blank of about 2500 to 3000 that were scanned. The program was originally run on the desktop computer. Alessine Manson, husband Davis, a computer engager, adapted a small computer and attached it to his wheelchair. Released from the need to use the somebody to interpret the speech, Hawking commanded that I can communicate better now than before. I lost my voice. The voice he used had an American accent and is no longer produced. Despite the later ability of other voices, Hawking retained this original voice, saying that he preferred it and identified with it. Originally, Hawking activated a switch using his hand and could produce up to 15 words per minute. Lectures were prepared in advance and were sent to the speeches synthesizer in short section to be delivered. Hawking gradually lost the use of his hand, and in books he began to control his communication device, the movement of his cheek muscles, with a rate of about one word per minute. These with this decline, there was a risk of him developing locked in syndrome. As Hawking collaborated with an internal corporation researcher on systematic that could translate his brain pattern of a facial expression into the switch activations. After several prototype that did not perform as planned, they settled an adaptive word predictor made by the London-based startup SwiftKey, which used a system similar to his college technology. Hawking had an easier time adapting to the new system, which was further developed after imputing the large amount of Hawking papers and other written material and use predictive software similar to use smartphone keyboard. By 2009, he could no longer drive his wheelchair independently, but the same people who created his new typing machine were working on a method to drive his chair using the movement made by his chin, with proof difficult since Hawking could not move his neck and trails shows that while it could needed drive to chair, the movement was supported sporadic and jumpy. Near the end of his life, Hawking experienced increased breathing difficulties and often resulting his requiring the using of ventilator and bring the regular hospitality. Disability outer outrage. Starting in 1990s, Hawking accepted the mantle of the role model of disabled people, lecturing and participating in fundraising activity. At the at the turn of the century, he had 11 other humanitarian signs of Charlotte for the third millennium of disability, which called on government to prevent disability and protect the right of disabled people. In 1999, Hawking was awarded the Julius Edgar Prize and American Physical Society. In August 2012, Hawking narrated the Enlightenment segment of 2012 Summer Playmo segment of 2012 Summer Paralympic Opinion Ceremony in London. In 2013, the biographical documentary film Hawking, in which Hawking himself is featured, was released. In September 2013, he expressed support for the leg- legislations of assisted suicide for the terminally ill. In August 2014, Hawking accepted the Face Bucket Challenges for promote ALS and MMD awareness and realized the contribution of research. He had also phenomena in 2013. He was advised not to have ice poured over him, but his children volunteered to accept the challenges of his behalf. Plans for a trip to space. Let's talk about. In late 2006, Hawking revealed in a BBC interview that one of the greatest unfulfilled desire was the travel space, and hearing the Richard Walsham offered the free light into the space with Virgin Galactic, which Hawking immediately accepted. The beside personal ambitions, he was motivated by the desire to increase the public interest in a specified, and he shows the potential with disability. In 26 April 2007, Hawking flew aboard a specially modified Beyond 727 to 2000 jet operated by Zero G Group of the coast of Florida and experienced weightlessness. Fear that the would cause him induced discomfort proved the incorrect, and the fight was extended to 8 parabolic acres. He was described as a successful test to see if he could withstand the G force involved in a space fight. At the time, the date was Hawking's trip to the space was projected to the as early as 2009, but commercial flight to space did not commerce commence before his death. Let's talk about the Hawking death. Future of humanity and philosophy is unnecessary. First, we'll talk about the his death. Hawking died at his home in Cambridge on 14 March 2018. At the age of 76, his family stated that he died peacefully. He was eulogized by figure in science, entertainment, politics, and other area. The Gonville and Cashew College flag flew at half mast and a book of condolence was signed by students and visitors. A tribute was made to Hawking in the closely speech by IPC President Andrew Parson at the closing ceremony of 2018. His private funeral took place on 31 March 2018 at Great St. Mary Church, Cambridge. Guests at the funeral, including the Theory of Everything and Adise Redmayne and Felicity John Quinn, guitarist and astrophysicist Brian May and model Lily Cole. In addition, actor Benedict, who played Stephen Hawking, astronaut Tim Peake, astronaut Royal Martin, and physicist Kip Thorne provide the reading at the service. Although Hawking was an atheist, the funeral took place with the traditional Anglican service. Following the cremation, a service of thanksgiving was held at Westminster Abbey on 15 June 2018, after which his ashes were interred in Abbey nave between the grave of Sir Leslie Newton and Charles Darwin. Inscribed on his memorial stone are the words "He lies," "What was mortal," of Stephen Hawking 1942-2018, and his most famed equation he directed at least 15 years before his death, that the that is the Hawking entropy equation, be his epitaph. In June 2018, it was announced that Hawking words set to the music by Greek composer Wanglia would be named into the space from the Europe Space Agency satellite dish in Spain, which the aim of reaching the nearest black hole. Hawking final broadcast interview about the directions of gravitational waves resulting from the collision of two neutron states occurred in October 2017. His final word to the world appeared posthumously in April 2018 in the form of Symphonia TV channel documentary entitled Leaving Earth, or How to Colonize a Planet. One of his final research studies entitled A Smooth Exit from the Internal Inflations about the origin of the universe was published in the Journal of High Energy Physics in May 2018. Later in October 2018, another of his final research studies entitled Black Hole Entropy and Short Hair was published and dealt with the mystery of what happened to the information held by the object and their disappear into a black hole. Also in October 2018, Hawking's last book, Brief Answers to the Big Questions, a popular science book representing his final comments on the most important question facing the mankind, was published. On 8 November 2018, an auctions of 22 personal positions to Stephen Hawking, including the doctoral thesis, PhD thesis, and wheelchair, took place and fetches about $1.8 million. Proceeding from the auction sales of the wheelchair went to the two charities, the Motor Neurons Diseases Association and the Stephen Hawking Foundation. The Hawking other item went to his state. In March 2019, it was announced that Royal Mint would issue a commemorative 50p coin, only the available of commemorative edition. In honor of Hawking, the same month, Hawking nurse Patricia Downey was struck off the nursing register for failure over his career of financial misconduct. In May 2021, it was announced that he accepted in lieu agreement between HMRC in Department of Culture, Media and Sport, Cambridge University Library, Science Museum Group and the Hawking State would seen around 10,000 pages of Hawking scientific and other papers remain in the Cambridge. While object of including the wheelchair species, synthesia and personal memorable from his formal Cambridge office would be housed at the Science of Museum. In February 2022, the Stephen Hawking of the work display opened of the Science Museum, London, at the start of 2 year nationwide tour. Let's talk about the personal views. At the Google Geneticist conference in 2011, Stephen Hawking said that philosophy is dead. He believed that philosophers have not kept up with modern development in science, have not taken science sufficiently seriously, and the philosophy is no longer relevant to acknowledge claim. Their art is dead, and the scientists have become the bearers of the torch of discovery in our quest for knowledge. He said the philosophical problem can be answered by science, practically new scientific theories which lead up to a new and difficult pictures of the universe and our place in it. His view was both parist and criticized. Future of humanity. In 2006, Hawking proposed an open question on the internet. In a world that is chaos politically, socially, and environmentally, how can the human race sustain another 100 years? Later clarifying, I don't know the answer. That is why I asked the question to get people to think about and be aware of the degree of now phase. Hawking expressed concern that life on Earth is a risk from the sudden nuclear war, a genetically engineered versus global warming. On the other, dangerous humans have not yet thought. Hawking stated a large it almost inevitable that either a nuclear confrontations of environmental catastrophe will cripple the earth at some points in the next 100 years, and consider as asteroid collisions to be biggest threat to the planet, such as wide disaster need to be result in human extinction. If the human race were not be able to colonize additional planet before the disaster, Hawking views specified and the colonization of the space necessary for the further of humanity. Hawking stated that given the vastness of the universal align likely to exist, but the contact with them should be avoided. He warned that align might pillage earth and resources. In 2010, he said, if align visit up, the outcome would be much as when Columbia's land in America, which did not turn out well for the Native American. Hawking warned that the super intelligent artificial intelligence could be pivotal in steering humanity fate, stating that the potential benefit as huge. Successful in creating AI would be the biggest event in human history. It might also be the last unless he learned how to avoid the risk. He feathered that an extremely intelligent further AI was probably devote a drive to supervise and acquire more resources as a step towards the accomplishing whether goal it has, and that the real risk with AI isn't malice but competence. A super intelligent AI will be extremely good at completing its goals, and if those goals aren't aligned with our, we are in trouble. But He also considered that the enormous wealth generated by machine need to be redistributed to prevent exacerbated economics inequality. Hawking was concerned about the further emergence of race of superhumans that would be able to design their own evaluation, and as well as argued that computer versus in today's world should be considered a new form of life, stating that maybe they say something about human nature, that the only form of life we have created so far is purely destructive talk about creating life in our own image. Let's talk about religions and atheism. Hawking was an atheist. In an interview published in The Guardian, Hawking regarded the brain as a computer which will stop working when its component fail, and the concept of afterlife as a fairy story for people afraid of the dark. In 2011, narrating the first episode of American television series Curiosity on the Discovery Channel, Hawking declared, we area we are each free to believe what we want, and it may view that simplest explanation is there is no God. No one create the universe and no one direct our fate. This leads me to profound realization. There is probably no heaven and no afterlife either. We have this one life to appreciate, to grand design of the universe, and that I am extremely grateful. Hawking Association was enthusiasm, and Franklin was evidence from the universe year onward when he had been member of Oxford University of Humanist Group. He was later scheduled to appear as the keynote speaker at 2017 Humanist UK conference. In the interview with Mendo, he said, before we understood science, it is natural to believe that God created the universe. But now scientific offer a more convincing explanation. What I meant by would knows the mind of God. It would be knows everything that God knows. If there were God, which there isn't, I am atheist. In addition, Hawking stated, if you like, you can call the laws of science God, but it wouldn't be personal God that would need the put questions to. Let's talk about the politics. Hawking was a long-standing Labour Party supporter. He recorded a tribute for the 2000 Democratic presidential Canadian AI goal and called the 2003 innovations of Iraq a war crime. Campaign to nuclear dis- disarmament, and the supported STEM called research, universal health care and action prevent and climate change. In August 2014, Hawking was one of the 200 public figures who were assigned who was signatorized to the letter the Graduan, expressing the hope of Scotland would vote to remain part of the United Kingdom in September ref- uh, referendum of the issues. Hawking believed a United Kingdom withdrawal from the Europe Union would damage the UK contribution to science, as modern research need to international collaboration and the free movement of people in Europe encouraged to spread of idea. Hawking said to these may deal with thoughts mathematical questions every day, but please do not ask me to help the relics. Hawking was disappointed by uh, Briggs and Warnet agent envy and isolationism. Hawking was greatly concerned over healthcare and maintained with without the UK National Health Service. He could not have survived into the 70s. Hawking specially feathered privatization. He started the more profit of extracted from the system, the more private monopolies grows and the more expensive healthcare becomes. The NHS must be preserved from commercial interest and protected from those who wanted to private. Hawking blamed the conservative for cutting funding to the NHS, weakening it a privatization, lowering staff morale through holding payback and reducing social care. Hawking accused Jeremy Hunt and cherry picking evidence with Hawking maintained database science. Hawking also stated there is overwhelming evidence that NHS funding and the number of doctors and nurses are inadequately and it is the getting worse. In June 2017, Hawking endorsed the Labour Party. In 2017 UK general election, citing the conservative proposal cut to the NHS, but he was also critical of Labour leaders Jerry Corbyn, expressing the skepticism over the whether the party could win in a general election under him. Hawking feared Donald Trump. Politicize a global warming could endanger the planet and make global warming irreversible. He said climate change is one of the great danger we face and it one of the prevent if we act now. By denying the evidence for climate change and pulling out of the Paris Agreement, Donald Trump will cause avoidable environmental damage to our beautiful planet, endangering the natural world for us, our children. Hawking further state that they could lead Earth to become like Venus with the temperature of 250 degree and remain the sulfuric acid. Hawking was super supported to the universe basic income. He was the critical of the Israeli government position of the Israeli Palestinian conflict, stating that their policy is likely to lead to disaster. Appearances in popular media, award honors, and metal science of communication. These are his. Let's we talk about his appearances in popular media. In 1988, Hawking, C. Clarke, and Clark Sagan were interviewed in a God, the Universe, and Everything Else. In 1988, they discuss the Big Bang Theory, God, and the possibility of extraterrestrial life. At the release party for the home video version of The Brief History of Time, Leonard Nimoy, who had played stock of Star Trek, learned that Hawking was interested in appearing on the show. Nimoy made of necessary contact and Hawking played a holographic uh, stimulation of himself in a episodic the Star Trek The Next Generation in 1993. The same year, his synthesizer voice was recorded for the Pink Floyd song Keep Talking. And in 1999, for the appearances of the symposium, Hawking appeared a documentary titled The Real Stephen Hawking Profile and Hawking and the documentary series Stephen Hawking Master of the Universe 2008. Hawking also guest started in the features and recurring role of Big Bang Theory. Hawking allowed to use of his copyright voice in a biographical 2014 film. The Theory of Everything is which he was the portrayed by Eddie in an Academic Award winning role. Hawking was further as the month of shows in 2014. He was shown to sign an extended version of the Galaxy song after running and coax with his wheelchair in a pre-recorded video. Hawking used to his fame to advertise the product, including the wheelchair, National Saving, British Telecom, Space Saver, Egg Banking, and Go Compare. In 2015, he applied to trademark, trademark his name. Broadcast in March 2018, June, a week of two before his death. Hawking was the voice the book marked second on the Guided to the Galaxy radio series, and he was the guest of Neil deGrasse Tyson and Star Trek. In 2021, animated sitcom The Frank Brothers featured a recurring character Meyer Pimicico, who is apparently modeled after the Stephen Hawking. On 8 January 2022, Global feathered Hawking in a Google Doodle on the occasion of 80th birthday award and honors. Hawking received numerous awards and honors. Already early enlisted in 1974, he was elected the Fellow of the Royal Society, we call it FRS, at the time of his nomination read. Hawking has major contribution to the field of general relativity. These driven from the deep understanding of what is relative to physics and astronomy, and especially from the mastery of the wholly new mathematical technique following the pioneering work on Panasonic to establish the partial along with the party in a collaboration with Penrose. A series of successively strong theorems established the fundamental result that all realize cosmological model must be processed singularities using the similar technique. Hawking has proved to be basic theorem on the laws government black hole. The stationary solution of Einstein's questions with a smooth event horizon must be necessary by examining metric and the evaluation and interdictions of black hole. The total surface area of even horizon must much increase in collaboration with a G. Elias Hawking is the another of the impressive and original treatise of the space-time of the large. The citation continue over the important work by the Hawking related to the interpretation of cosmological observation and the design of gravity wave detectors. Hawking was also the number of American Academics and Art of Science 1984, the American Philosophical Society 1984, and United States National Academy of Science 1992. Hawking received the 2015 BBVA Foundation's Frontiers of Knowledge Award in Basic Science shared with the Chesley for discovering that the galaxy were the form from quantum fluctuation in early universe. At the 2016 Pride of the Britain Award, Hawking received the Lifetime Achievements Award for his contribution to science and British culture. After receiving the award from Prime Minister Theresa May, Hawking humorously requested that she not seek him help to relax. The Hawking Fellowship, main article taken from Hawking Fellowship. In 2017, the Cambridge Union Society, in conjunctions that Hawking established the Professor Hawking Fellowship. The fellowship is awarded annually to an individual who has made an exceptional contribution to the STEM field and social disorder. With a particular focus and impact affecting the youngest generation, each following diverse a lecture on top of their choosing known as the Hawking Lecture. Hawking himself accepted the in fellowship and the delivered for his Hawking lecture in his last public appearances before his death. Medal for the science communication. Hawking was a number of the advisor board and the STEMS festival and had major role in acknowledgement and promoting the science communication. The Stephen Hawking Medal for Science Communication is an annual award initially in 2016 to honor member of the art community to contribute that help build awareness science. He received medal of bearing a political party Hawking by the Alexa Linavo portrait, and his other side of representation an image of Linova himself performing the first spacewalk along with an image of the Reed Special, the guitar of Queen musical and the astrophysicist Brain May, with music being another major component of his Sturm Festival. The Strummer's third festival in 2016 was a tribute to the Stephen Hawking. Stephen Hawking and the Book of All Streaming third lecture Beyond the Horizon was also dedicated to him. The first recipients of the medal, which were awarded at the festival, were chosen by the Hawking himself. They were composer Hans Zimmer's physicist Jim Ali and the science of documentary part, particles fever. Here is his publication A Brief History of Time, Black Hole and Baby Universe and Other Essay. The universe is in nutshell. The other soldier of giant. God created the integers. The dream that stuff in made of the most astonishing papers of quantum physics and how they stuck to scientific world. May brief history, brief answers to the Big Bang questions. Co-authored The Natural of Space and Time. He is the Roger 1996. These are the authors. Forwards, children's fictions and films and series. This is all about the Stephen Hawking. I hope this video is informative for you.